It all started with a torn letter in a trash can, found by a janitor no one noticed. But within 72 hours, that single scrap of paper would threaten careers, unearth buried secrets, and ignite a silent war inside Capitol Hill. What did it say? And why were people willing to kill for it? It was just another quiet Wednesday night in the U.S. Capitol. The kind of night where footsteps echoed louder than usual, and the silence stretched longer than the hallways themselves. Most offices had long emptied. Only the hum of the old ventilation system and the occasional shuffle of shoes reminded the building it was still alive. Samuel Ross, 53 years old and built for invisibility, pushed his gray cleaning cart down the marbled corridor like he had every night for the past 15 years. The Capitol never changed much, just the faces of the powerful who walked it. And Sam? He was just background noise. As he reached room 312, the office of Senator Gerald Stone, a towering figure on the Intelligence Committee, Sam noticed something odd. One of the trash bins, usually empty or filled with coffee cups and paper, had something different this time. A large manila envelope, torn at one end but still mostly sealed, sat awkwardly on top of a pile of shredded documents. The bold black letters across the front made him pause. Classified, eyes only. It wasn't the kind of thing that ended up in a janitor's hands, not unless someone made a mistake. Sam looked over his shoulder. The hall was empty. He lifted the envelope carefully, heart beginning to thump. The seal was half broken already, as if someone started to destroy it and changed their mind. Inside, one crisp piece of white paper. Printed. Clean. Cold. Phase 2 will begin within 30 days. Media assets aligned. Public compliance forecast, 64%. Senate contingency plan pending. Leaks will appear accidental. Maintain deniability. Discredit early dissent. Sam blinked. Was it a joke? Some kind of mock-up for a screenplay? His gut told him no. The paper felt official, watermarked with the faint insignia of the Senate Intelligence Office. His stomach turned. He took a photo with his old flip phone, returned the letter to the trash as it was, and walked out, quieter than usual. But from that moment on, everything around him felt louder. The next day started normal, but it didn't stay that way. Sam noticed two men in dark suits standing by the east loading dock. They weren't janitors. They weren't security either. They stood too straight, watched too closely. When he passed, one gave a small nod, too subtle to call threatening, but too deliberate to ignore. Sam's pulse climbed. He didn't speak to anyone that day. That night, he unplugged his Wi-Fi, removed the battery from his phone. But it didn't help him sleep, because now he had questions he couldn't unsee, and a new detail that chilled him to the bone. When reviewing the photo again, he noticed tiny initials scribbled faintly in pencil on the corner of the letter, G.S. Gerald Stone. He hadn't just stumbled into something sensitive. He had seen something meant to vanish. The day after, his cleaning schedule was changed without warning. He was told to clean the basement floor instead of the third level. Temporary rotation, they said. But Sam had never been rotated in 15 years. No one ever touched his schedule. He went to check the time clock records later that night. The log showed he had never cleaned room 312. The entry had been erased. Someone was covering the trail. Terrified but still unsure what to do, Sam anonymously messaged a small political blog known for publishing deep leaks and signed documents, off-record testimony, and whistleblower data. He sent only the photo, not the envelope, not his name. The next day the blog was gone. Wiped clean. URL dead. Archives offline. Even cached pages missing from Google. It was as if it never existed. Sam stared at the 404 error on his computer screen, heart racing. He wasn't supposed to have seen that letter, and someone had just made that very clear. That night, Sam returned home to find his living room lamp on, something he never left on. Nothing was missing. But someone had been there. That was the message. He left the lights off, sat down, and opened his laptop one last time. He searched an independent journalist named Tasha Cortez, a name he'd remembered from a recent expose on government surveillance programs. She had credibility and guts. Sam emailed her using a burner account. No name, no details, just one line. I found something. It's real. And they know I saw it. He attached the photo of the letter and waited. Tasha replied 2 hours later. Meet me. Midnight. Old train tunnel under Capitol Hill. Come alone. The tunnel beneath Capitol Hill wasn't on any public map. Built decades ago during the Cold War, it was meant to serve as a discreet passage between buildings and a possible emergency exit for senators. Today it was sealed off officially, but if you knew where to look, there were ways in. At exactly midnight, Sam Ross stood near the rusted hatch behind the old boiler room entrance, heart pounding louder than the silence around him. He clutched his phone and a USB drive containing the only copy of the photo he took. The original paper? Long gone. A faint beam of light flickered from the shadows. Sam, a voice whispered. Calm. Female. Confident. It was her. Tasha Cortez stepped out of the dark, dressed in black, with a worn leather bag slung over her shoulder. She looked younger than Sam expected, but her eyes were sharp, the kind that belonged to someone who had seen danger and kept walking anyway. You came, she said. I shouldn't have, Sam replied. She gave him a half-smile. But you did. They moved quickly into the tunnel, flashlight dimmed, footsteps echoing softly. Tasha led him to a corner where two rusted pipes intersected. It was a dead zone, no signal, no surveillance. They can't hear us here, she said. Sam handed her the USB. You're not recording this? He asked. She raised a brow. Not unless you want me to disappear. Then came the questions. Tasha wanted details, where the letter was found, who saw it, what the exact wording was. Sam recited everything. She never interrupted, just nodded slowly, piecing together what she already knew. Then she said something that made Sam go cold. You're not the first. He blinked. What? 2 weeks ago, another janitor from the West Wing reached out to me. Same kind of story, classified notes, shredded documents, references to Phase 2. He vanished before we met. Police said it was an accident. Sam's knees felt weak. Tasha continued. And 3 months before that, a Hill intern sent me screenshots of suspicious fund transfers linked to a shell company, the same one listed in Stone's old campaign finance disclosures. What happened to them? Silenced. Threatened. Discredited. In one case, deported for visa fraud. Now Sam understood. This wasn't just one envelope. This was a pattern, a hidden network tying together silence, money, and power. But the next twist was worse. Tasha pulled out her laptop and opened a file labeled Phase 2, Known Contacts. Dozens of names scrolled by. CEOs, foreign contractors, former intelligence officials, one sitting judge. But Sam stopped at one name that made his breath catch. His brother, David Ross, former cybersecurity analyst. Left government work 5 years ago. Disappeared during a hiking trip in Montana. His body was never found. You know him? Tasha asked, seeing Sam's face drain. He's my brother. Now it wasn't just a leak. It was personal. Sam told her everything. How David had once hinted at something he couldn't talk about, just weeks before he vanished. Tasha leaned in. Then we need to move. They already know who you are. That's when a sudden metal clang echoed from the end of the tunnel. Both froze. Tasha turned off the flashlight. Silence. A shadow moved across the far wall. Slow. Deliberate. They found us, she whispered. She grabbed her bag, tucked the USB deep inside, and handed Sam a burner phone. If I don't contact you in 48 hours, release everything to this email address, she said, scribbling it on his palm with a penlight. "Where will you go?" "Somewhere they don't expect." She slipped into the shadows and was gone. Sam waited 5 minutes. 10. Then carefully made his way out the same hatch he entered from. As he stepped into the night air, something felt wrong. His apartment key no longer fit the lock. Inside the building, the hallway lights flickered. And taped to his door was a plain white envelope. No name. No seal. Just a single line in bold black print. Phase 2 doesn't tolerate mistakes. The hallway was silent, but Sam's heartbeat wasn't. That envelope, no return address, no stamp, no signature, sat taped to his door like a quiet threat. He pulled it down with trembling fingers and opened it in the dim stairwell light. Inside was just one sentence. "There's someone watching from the inside. You're not alone." No name. No clue. Just 6 chilling words that somehow felt more dangerous than the last warning. He looked around. No one in sight. But he didn't trust the building anymore. Not the door lock that had been tampered with. Not the flickering hallway lights that somehow knew when he passed. He didn't go inside. Instead, he walked straight out of the building and vanished into the city. No phone, no cards, no trace. That night, he slept on a bench in a park near the Potomac, wrapped in a hoodie and paranoia. At sunrise, a woman sat beside him. Mid-30s. Sharp coat. Military posture. Civilian clothes. "You're Sam Ross," she said without turning. "My name's Clara. Tasha sent me, in case she didn't make it out." His mouth went dry. "She knew she was being followed," Clara continued. "She always had a backup plan." She handed him a manila folder. Inside, a photo of his brother, David, sitting in a crowded cafe. Dated just 6 days ago. Sam blinked. "But David's dead." Clara shook her head. "No, that's what they told you." Twist. Everything Sam believed about his brother's death was unraveling fast. "He's in hiding," she whispered. "He tried to blow the whistle 5 years ago. They erased him. He's been underground ever since." Sam stared at the image. It was real. No deep fake. No trick. The man in the photo was very much alive. Clara looked around, lowered her voice. "David left you something. A backup drive. He said you'd know where." Sam's mind raced. The last time he saw David, they were hiking together in the Blue Ridge Mountains, a remote trail they always returned to since childhood. At the summit, David had buried something near an old tree. He said it was for later. Back then, Sam thought it was sentimental junk. Now it might be a digital grenade. But Clara wasn't done. "There's someone helping us on the inside," she said. "They go by the code name Echo. They've been feeding intel out of the Intelligence Committee's closed-door sessions. The letter you found? Echo placed it. You were never supposed to pick it up. It was bait. To trap someone else." Sam reeled. "Then why am I still alive?" Clara looked at him. "Because Echo thinks you're useful now." Sam didn't know whether to feel safe or hunted. "Why me?" "Because they need a civilian with nothing to lose." Twist. Sam had just become a pawn in someone else's game, and he wasn't sure which side he was even on. Clara gave him a burner laptop and a small GPS chip. "You have one task. Get to the tree. Retrieve the drive. Don't plug it in. Bring it to Echo. They'll make contact at dusk, Washington Square, Sunday, next to the statue. If anyone else shows up, run." She stood to leave. "And Sam," she added, pausing, "don't trust anyone in uniform. Not even me." Then she was gone. Sam sat in silence. His brother might be alive. A stranger named Echo was watching from the shadows. A secret network of whistleblowers and deep state operatives was unraveling something that touched national security, media, even elections. And somehow it all led back to one torn letter in a trash can. Sam looked down at his hands. They were shaking, but not from fear anymore. From purpose. Whatever this was, he was in it now. Sam hadn't been to the Blue Ridge Mountains in years. As his rental car snaked through the twisting roads of rural Virginia, old memories stirred with every mile. Childhood hikes, laughter, his brother David sprinting ahead of him on the trail and calling back, "You're too slow, Sammy." But now that laughter had a shadow behind it, because somewhere along this forgotten trail, David had buried something, a drive, a secret, maybe the truth that had cost him everything. The sun was dipping low as Sam parked at the trailhead. He wore a hat low over his face, sunglasses, and a hoodie. He hadn't used his phone, hadn't touched Wi-Fi. No one should have been able to track him. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling he wasn't alone. The trail felt longer than he remembered. The trees pressed in tighter. Every snap of a branch made him flinch. Finally, he reached the old clearing, the flat rock near the edge of the cliff where they used to stop for water. And there it was, the twisted tree, gnarled roots, burned markings from a lightning strike years ago. The exact spot David called the Watcher. Sam got to work. He dug with his hands at first, then used a small trowel Clara had given him. Minutes passed. Dirt flew. Then clink. Metal. He uncovered a small, rusted lockbox. Inside, a black USB drive wrapped in plastic, a faded photo of the two brothers from 2009, and a handwritten note. "If you're reading this, it means they found me. This drive contains everything: surveillance contracts, media buys, even lists of people targeted for silence. I hope you're safer than I was. D." Sam barely had time to process the words before he heard it crack. Not a twig. A gunshot. The bark of the tree exploded inches from his head. He dove flat into the dirt. Another shot rang out. This one closer. Sam grabbed the drive, shoved the box under his hoodie, and rolled behind the rock. He couldn't see the shooter. The trees were too dense. But someone had followed him. Someone wanted that drive. He made a run for it, not down the trail, but into the thick woods. Branches whipped his face. Roots grabbed at his feet. But he kept moving. Behind him, another shot. Then silence. After 10 breathless minutes, he reached an old ranger's trail and followed it downhill until he found a gravel road. A lone car was parked there. No markings. Doors shut. Windows tinted. He froze. Then, the driver's door opened. It was Echo, a woman in her 40s. Calm. Black tactical gear. Eyes like ice. "Get in," she said. Sam didn't hesitate. Once inside, she took the drive and placed it in a lead-lined pouch. "No questions. No thanks. Did anyone follow you?" she asked. "I think so. There was a shooter." "Then they know you're not just a janitor anymore." She handed him a second envelope. Inside, a fake ID, a passport, $5,000 in cash, and a plane ticket. To where? Anywhere that isn't here. He stared at the documents. "Why are you helping me?" Echo finally turned to face him fully. "Because your brother saved my life once. This is me returning the favor." Twist. Sam realized this wasn't about just a file. It was personal. Deep. Old loyalties that had survived even in the dark. Echo's phone buzzed. She looked at it and frowned. "They've activated something called resolution protocol. That means in 48 hours, anyone tied to this leak, you, me, even Clara, becomes expendable." Sam felt the gravity of it. He had gone from a quiet janitor to a hunted man at the center of a government conspiracy unraveling faster than anyone expected. Echo turned the ignition. "We have one shot to get this to the right people. After that, we disappear." Outside, the forest closed in behind them as they sped away. And back at the mountain trail, a second car pulled up. 3 men stepped out. One held a suppressed rifle. The other pulled out a phone, tapped a number, and said only one thing. "Phase 2 has been compromised." The cold wind whispered through Washington Square as twilight settled over D.C. The statue of George Washington stood tall, casting a long shadow over the empty benches and cracked tiles below. Sam Ross sat on the far side of the plaza, the hard drive sealed inside a weatherproof case clutched in his bag. Across from him, Clara leaned against a bench, scanning the crowd. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. They were waiting for someone, or something. Echo. Sam expected some dramatic entrance. A voice through a hidden earpiece. A dark vehicle pulling up to the curb. But when Echo finally arrived, it was none of those things. Instead, a man in a simple navy trench coat and round glasses walked calmly into the square, holding a coffee in one hand and a file in the other. He looked normal. Too normal. He sat beside Sam without a word, then looked straight ahead. "You have it?" he asked softly. Clara nodded once. "We had company on the trail." "I know," the man replied. "Two are already being questioned." Sam pulled out the case. "What is this really? What's on this drive?" Echo didn't take it right away. Instead, he sighed. "What's on that drive," he said slowly, "is evidence of a coordinated domestic operation. A campaign of staged compliance and fake public polls. Psychological mapping. Coerced influencers. Bought journalists. Even planted election observers." Sam stared at him. "For what?" "To control public reaction after Phase 2 is activated." He continued. "Phase 1 was misinformation, shaped the narrative. Phase 2 is engineered response, provoked behavior. Phase 3, well, no one's supposed to live long enough to see that. Twist. The program wasn't about defense or foreign threats. It was about reshaping the country from the inside out, without needing a single bullet." Clara leaned forward. "And Senator Stone?" "Stone is a puppet. Powerful, yes. But expendable. He reports to a committee that doesn't exist on paper. What David Ross found 5 years ago was only the tip of it." Sam's head was spinning. "So what now? We give this to the media?" Echo smiled. But it wasn't a hopeful smile. "You think they'll run this?" "The media outlets are either owned or scared. This goes beyond newsrooms. We don't publish this, we leak it, carefully and globally." Twist. Echo revealed that copies of the drive were already being uploaded, not by Sam, but by David. Alive. Watching. "Your brother sends his love," Echo said. Sam's eyes widened. "Where is he?" "Safe. For now. He wanted to be here, but it would have drawn heat. You'll see him soon." Suddenly, Clara's phone buzzed. She checked it, then stood up. "They know we're here," she said sharply. "We have 3 minutes." Echo took the drive. "I'll finish the upload. You two vanish." Sam stood frozen. "Wait, I still don't get it. Why me? Why not just do all this yourselves?" Echo turned to him one last time. "Because you're invisible, Sam. A janitor. A nobody. And in a system built on egos and cameras, the invisible man is the most dangerous of all." Twist. Sam was never the target. He was the shield, the ghost who could move through locked doors, go unnoticed, slip past security, and survive because no one thought he mattered. Now, that made him the deadliest piece on the board. As Clara and Sam ducked into the shadows, blending into the dusk, they didn't speak. The plan had changed. The war had begun. Across the world, encrypted servers buzzed to life. Whistleblower portals lit up, and a single image, the torn classified letter, appeared anonymously on screens from Berlin to Sao Paulo. Sam's name wasn't on it. Neither was David's. But their fingerprints were all over the truth. Echo vanished that night. So did the drive. But the leak went viral. Senator Stone denied everything. Congress launched hearings. Protesters filled the streets. But it was too late. The machine had been exposed. And somewhere, far off the grid, David Ross clicked send on the final piece of the puzzle. A full blueprint of Phase 3. Because this wasn't about one envelope in a trash can anymore. It was about what happens when one silent man picks it up and refuses to look away. In the end, it wasn't a senator, a spy, or a whistleblower who pulled the thread that unraveled it all. It was a forgotten man with a mop and a memory. The truth didn't explode in headlines. It leaked in silence. And somewhere out there, Phase 3 still waits, ready to begin.